Now this, Forrester produced this technographics profile, so I think it's quite an interesting segmentation of people's online behaviours. So you've got creators, people that create content. You have, they publish a blog. You guys can kind of read some of that stuff. Upload videos, they upload audio, music, etc. You have critics that would read some of this content. They would post comments. They would, contribute to online forums and so forth. You have collectors that subscribe to a lot of RSS feeds that collect a lot of this content. People that join social networks, spectators, etc., etc. So the reason why we thought it was important for us to analyse where the candidate and client sort of population fitted into these particular categories that enabled us to define the strategy that we're going to use to get to these people online. And there's some statistics there that you've seen that obviously makes some of this stuff quite well. Once we looked at the people component, then we took some time to understand what are the technologies and what are the tools that we would recommend in order for this customer to get to those people. And as you are aware, and a lot of the other speakers have talked about today, there's a myriad of tools and technologies. Things are coming up every day. It's really hard to keep on top of all of the applications, the technologies that are coming out regularly. So we took some time to evaluate a lot of these tools and technologies, and obviously made some recommendations based upon who they were trying to reach. Then we walked over and put our ear against a white wall to listen to this stuff. The next piece for us was about monitoring. So before we made any recommendations around what to do from a social recruiting perspective, we wanted to listen to what was actually happening out there about this company's brand. What were they talking about, if anything, about this company's brand, positive, negative comments, etc. So we took some time to listen to that. In this particular example, there was nothing going on. They didn't even have very much online presence at all. There was no dialogue about this particular company's brand at all. So, but there are some examples there of some of the monitoring tools that you could look at in order to monitor some of the dialogue or conversation that's going on out there. So some of the kind of main recommendations from a social media for recruiting point of view were we definitely suggested that they start an external blog. As seen today, some of the value that delivers from a recruiting point of view. We suggested that the engagement with a lot of online social networks should not just be from a sourcing perspective. So really encouraged connecting with people within these social networks and building relationships with those connections. Start or join groups within LinkedIn and get a feed reader to subscribe to a lot of blogs so that they can get fresh content to be able to comment on and discuss from an HR and recruiting point of view. Social media and social networks, specifically if you think about LinkedIn, it's not exclusively for sourcing. And I think there's a real misconception from agencies in particular that LinkedIn is purely a database and purely the value in LinkedIn is from a candidate sourcing perspective. But we've seen LinkedIn introduce a whole bunch of new features around their groups functionality, so that it allows recruiters to really build communities around areas of interest. They've got quite cool little job board within those groups, the group functionality. So there's a real opportunity using LinkedIn as an example to build niche communities around areas of interest by delivering a whole heap of valuable content and jobs, but really participating in that community, not just sourcing from it exclusively. This is a real interesting topic, because you think about one of the challenges we had in this custom was that there was a new CEO that was appointed that really kind of got it. She was evangelising this within the organisation. You had two founders that were excited about implementing strategy for their business, and I'll move on to talking about some of the things that we learned from this particular implementation, but trying to articulate the return on investment about implementing this strategy from a recruiting point of view, admittedly, was quite difficult for us. And as you can see, some of the short-term ROIs are there. What we found and what we received as feedback from the customer's perspective was that the immediate value that they got from implementing this social recruiting strategy was the ability to sell that as a value proposition or a differentiator in terms of what they do differently to their competitors. So not only do we use niche job boards, we have a referral program, we also now have a social media strategy that enables us to do a whole bunch of other stuff. And by the way, Mr. Customer, you can go and have a look at our social footprint or online footprint and see a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So we saw that enabled them to win more assignments and obviously, in turn, more revenue. From a long-term point of view, these are kind of the metrics that I'm sure the organisation will be monitoring in order to really assess the return on investment that implementing a social media strategy will deliver. But I think the real value, also from a longer-term point of view, is if fundamentally recruiters are there because they have access to people employees don't have, social media is a really great opportunity for you to build a relationship with a potential candidate, enter into a conversation with that candidate, so where that candidate is in their life cycle from a career decision-making point of view. So at any point in time, if they're all of a sudden go from passive to active, hopefully you have regular communication with that individual, so you are there at any point in time to be able to access that